Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists out of pointless things. Why are we flying by this pointless statue in Booty Bay? Because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 are all the mobs in the Fields of Honor, which are located around the front of the Black Rock Stronghold in the Burning Steppes. And I'm not gonna lie, I barely quested in the Burning Steppes to begin with, so I kinda just forgot the Burning Steppes had stuff in it to begin with. But I think one of my favorite things about this is it gives that Lord of the Rings vibe. Like when Saruman's looking out at all the Uruk-hai and he's like, "Whoa!" and they're all like, "Ugh." Like that's kind of what I got from this on a, far lesser scale, obviously. But yeah, you've got the Blackrock Soldiers, you've got the Smolderthorn Assassins, and you have the Firegut Flame Speakers, and these are all part of the quest objective Chisel Grip, the Heart of the Steppes, where you have to go and kill 15 Blackrock troops on your way to Chisel Grip. And there's really nothing special about the mobs, it's just, I think they're lined up in cool battle formations, and that in itself is kind of memorable, but I doubt many people quested in the Burning Steppes, and I doubt many people really remember these, so that's why they're number 10. 9. Number 9 are the Slither Scale Rippers, and these are located on the Windward Isle in the Jade Forest. And I'm not gonna lie, I would have put these higher on the list if the Mist of Pandaria remix didn't just happen and a lot of people went back and requested and probably found these guys again, so they didn't really forget about them, but most people just did dungeons and raids and then did the experience mailbox thing anyway, so maybe you did still forget about them. And these guys are just really goofy looking Sarok that are running all over the place looking for eggs and cloud serpents to kill. So the cloud serpents actually come here and make nests and lay their eggs, and then the Sarok have invaded this place and their whole purpose is just to steal the eggs. And I don't know if they're going to eat the eggs or if they just don't want the cloud serpents to reproduce or whatever's happening. They want to get rid of these eggs and the cloud serpents. And I also read some Wowhead comments about how these guys would just follow you forever, like how most mobs would follow you for a bit and then give up and go back to where they were. These mobs do not. They will just keep following you. And like I said before, I just think they're funny. Like they're cooking up fish, they're hopping around, they're eating bones, they're like charging into each other. They're just weird, goofy lizard guys. And they're just doing all this on some random island out off the Jade Forest coast. And so that's why they're number 9. 8. Number 8 are the Hounds of Kuluthas and the Eyes of Kuluthas, located at the Ruins of Farallon in Netherstorm. And the Ruins of Farallon are pretty far north up in Netherstorm, and it was once a Draenei settlement comparable to Telmor or Karabor. And a dreadlord named Kuluthas broke away from the Burning Legion and killed all of Sakrathar's Burning Legion demons in the ruins, and then summoned his own demons, which were called Hounds of Kuluthas and Eyes of Kuluthas. And a fun fact, Farallon was actually the old name of Netherstorm. But I actually love the Hounds and the Eyes. You've got the Hounds walking around with a bunch of eyes all over them, which is kind of funny. And then you have the actual eyes that look like they're headbanging to a metal song or something. They're just like, oh, yeah, like they're in the mosh pit. And then you got Kuluthas up there being like, with the crystal, I am a god, which is apparently the Atamal crystal, a powerful Draenei artifact, which he retrieved off the dead Burning Legion after they excavated it. So yeah, there's actually a lot of little cool lore tidbits up here, and I think the mobs are really goofy and fun, and I think a lot of people forgot about them, so that's why they're number 8. 7. Number 7 are the Iron Horde Scouts, and these are orcs located at the Moonlit Shore in Shadowmoon Valley. And I'm sure, like many things in Draenor, these guys have been forgotten about, specifically because there's really not that many of them. And these guys were part of an objective for a mission called Spy Games, which stemmed from Inscription. So that's even more reason why people would either never do this or just completely forgot about them. And you can find them just walking around the shore in this specific area in Shadowmoon Valley. And they actually do look really cool. They got a bunch of cluster bombs in their back, and they got some cool looking weapons and gear, and I actually think they look awesome, but there's really not that many of them. I'm sure there's other mobs that have similar art style that are just called different things, but I think they look cool. And these were actually one of the mobs that inspired me to do this pointless top 10, because I was just exploring around here and I was like, dude, I don't even remember these guys being a thing. Like, I forgot they existed. And I was like, dude, how many mobs like there are? There's probably a lot. And so that's why the Iron Horde Scouts are number 7. 6. Number 6 are the Sawblade Clear Cutters, and these are gnome bots located on Mechagon Island. And this is part of a quest called Aid from Nordrassil, where you help kill the Sawblade Clear Cutters to save the animals and the nature of the Mechagon Island from being overrun by all of the gnome bots. And the mecha gnomes, I guess. They're the ones making the gnome bots and doing all this. And I wanted to put these on the list because I remember always coming to Mechagon and seeing these guys and doing the quests, and they were just always chopping trees down and walking around being like beep, beep, boop, bop, beep, and chasing people around and stuff. And they actually do look pretty cool. They got their big spinning saw blade arms and their heads are spinning around sometimes. They actually remind me of a modernized kind of roided up Harvest Reaper from back in Westfall. So unless you're coming to Mechagon all the time for mount farming or pet collection or something, I feel like a lot of people forgot about these guys, and that's why they're number 6. 5. Number 5 are all the mobs located at the Mildenhall Meadery in Stormsong Valley. And you have the Flowing Honey Slimes, the Honey Crazed Maulers, and the Bubbling Mead Elementals. And this place is, I think, one of the coolest places in Stormsong Valley. It's actually one of my favorite places in Battle for Azeroth. And that's saying something because I actually love a lot of the Battle for Azeroth zone design and art styles. And I love how the elementals are just sucking up these big puddles of honey, and then you have the Honey Crazed Maulers that are actually eating the slimes, which is, I think, making them crazy, or they got a sugar high. I don't know what's happening, but they're honey crazed. In fact, it kind of gave me flashbacks to the honeycomb cereal mascot, if you remember that guy, and he would like go crazy for honeycombs. That's what these guys remind me of. And the only reason I didn't put this higher on the list is I'm sure there are people that go back here because of the bee quest, and I think you do have to go into this area for the bee quest. I never got the bee, so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it starts around this area. But for people that don't care about the bee mount or already did it, you probably did forget about these guys, and that's why they're number 5. 4. Number 4 are the Apexis Guardians located in the Spires of Iraq. And first off, I love that they're kind of just skipping around like they're having a really fun time, like la 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 la. It's like, that's what they're doing. A bunch of them are just skipping around. I think it's really funny. And these guys are powered by solar energy, and they are based on excavated Apexis constructs. The Apexis Arakoa had always been arrogant, and they had been even more so after their victory against the Primals. They deemed those who walked the surface to be unclean and used their constructs to mine and gather other resources from the ground. 1,200 years later, the golems were reactivated from within the Apexis excavation near Skyreach. The ancient Nest Guardians were originally built as automated caretakers for young Arakoa, but with the conflict escalating between the adherents of Rukmar and the outcasts, many have been repurposed as instruments of war. So there you go. There's your Warcraft wiki Apexis Guardian lore of the day. And I just wanted to put them on the list because I figured people forgot about them for the sole reason they're in the Spires of Iraq and Draenor, and I highly doubt many people are going back to there, so that's why the Apexis Guardians are number 4. 3. Number 3 are the Kavaldir, or the Valdir, I don't know if the K is silent, located at Hrothgar's Landing. And Hrothgar's Landing is a small island located off the northern coast of Icecrown. I think it is so cool that it's really just its own sub-region located north of Northrend. And, you know, it's still pretty much attached to Northrend, but when you look at the Northrend map, it looks like it's just a piece of the Icecrown zone. But then when you hover over it and actually click on it, it is its own subregion, which I just think is really cool. And none of that actually relates to the actual mobs, which are the Kavaldir, and they have taken over the island from the Tuskar. So this used to be a Tuskar village, and then during the Wrath of the Lich King, the Kavaldir come in and they wipe out all the Tuskar, which is actually pretty brutal and sad. Like, you look around, you see everything destroyed here, and it sucks, because I like Tuskar, so I don't like that. And, you know, there's plenty of Kavaldir in the game all over the place, but these specific ones over on Hrothgar's Landing are the ones that I'm mentioning because I think a lot of people just forget Hrothgar's Landing is even a thing. In fact, it says, following the war against the jailer, the brothers Bronzebeard reported that the island is still under the control of the Kavaldir. And nobody really knew about that because nobody played Shadowlands that far. And that's why the Kavaldir on Hrothgar's Landing are number 3. 2. Number 2 are all the mobs at the Unbound Thicket in the Crystal Song Forest, specifically the eastern half of the Crystal Song Forest. And you have numerous Unbound here. You have Unbound Satyrs, you have Unbound Ancients, Dryads, Ents, as well as Highborn Spirits wandering about. And there's actually a lot of cool lore behind the Crystal Song Forest. I remember talking about it and learning about it in Pointless Top 10 Ruins, where I covered the ruins of Shandaral. And to briefly sum it all up, the elves got greedy, they stole some magic, they tried to do some stuff, it backfired, it exploded, it messed up the whole zone, and these mobs are kind of like a byproduct of all that. I talk about it more in depth in Pointless Top 10 Ruins, so if you want to go listen to a more in-depth description, you can go listen to that. But one of the reasons I wanted to put these specific mobs on the list is I always remember flying over Crystal Song Forest, not even questing there, just like flying over it or running through and always seeing these mobs and being like, those are pretty cool. And I was like, I'm sure plenty of other people had similar situations where they just remember these guys from traveling through Crystal Song Forest and being like, oh yeah, those mobs are pretty cool. And so that's why they're number 2. And number 1 are the Dark Lost Crowcool. The Dark Lost Crowcool are located at the Orinar Collapse in Eridath. And the Dark Lost Crowcool are actually just broken. And that doesn't mean like, oh, they're broken. They are literal broken, which are a devolved subrace of Draenei who live in Outland. And they were mutated after being exposed to the fell energies wielded by orc warlocks. And these specific ones are void scarred, so they have been corrupted by the void. So when you really think about it, that's gotta suck, right? Like, you've been mutated by the fell energies, and then on top of that, now you've been corrupted by the void. It's just like, oh god, what's next? You walk outside the next day, it's like, what's happening now? Who's gonna corrupt us or mutate us or whatever? And the only way I figured out that these guys still existed was whenever I would use my engineering portal to Argus, it would warp me sometimes right in front of these guys. And I was like, who are these guys? Like, I've seen them numerous times. Like, I don't know who they are. And so I was like, well, they're perfect for this list. So that's why the Dark Lost Crowcool are number 1. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Pointless Top 10s, you go check out Pointless Top 10 Sharks from last week, or you go check out Pointless Top 10 Ruins that I mentioned earlier in the video. Also, consider supporting the channel on patreon.com/crendor or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See ya.